Greetings my friends, and welcome to another databits video. Today we're not going to talk about PS2 computers or even VCRs. We're going to talk about projectors. In this case, the BenQ MX720. Now, why are we going to talk about this particular model? Well, it has really impressive specs. Its original price tag was really high, and you can get this on the cheap. The goal in this video is to show you how you can clean one of these projectors and make it work like new. I bought one of these for my home theater and noticed that there was a strange whiteness, like these white spots on the image, and thinking that maybe it was the DLP chip that was going bad. In actuality, it was just dirt that needed to be removed. So I'm going to show you how to, step by step, clean this projector. I'll also show you how to identify the white spots that I saw on the screen, and then we'll just go through step by step and clean it. Now, you need to be handy in order to do this particular process. If you're not handy, well, just enjoy the show. If you are handy, get your stuff ready. I'll show you what you need, and we'll go through step by step and clean this, and at the end, you'll have a cheap projector that looks magnificent and will be a wonderful source of entertainment for your family and friends, or maybe even a backyard outdoor movie party. Let's get started. So what is it that you can expect to see on your screen with these BenQ projectors? Well, this is exactly what you're going to see right here. Little white spots. These white spots are actually dust particles trapped inside the optics of this projector. They are not light leaks, as you might think. With a little bit of skill and with a little determination, we can take this projector apart, clean it up good, and have it looking like new. And believe me, the results are extraordinary. This machine delivers one heck of a beautiful high-definition picture. Here are all the things you're going to need for this project. You're going to need a nut driver with a 5mm socket, a medium-sized Phillips screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, and a lint-free cloth, one of those you would use from your optometrist to clean your glasses. We're not going to use any chemicals. We're not going to use sprays. We're not going to use any kind of canned air. This is all we're going to use, and it works. The first thing let's do is remove the projector bulb. Go ahead and rotate the unit around until you see this screw right here. This is the only flathead screw you'll have to deal with. Take your flathead screwdriver, small one there, and go ahead and unscrew that screw. Now, what I've discovered in my case is this screw is actually broke off. Well, at least the piece that connects to the top is broke off, and you can see that right there. So this is not supposed to be separate from that, but this is not the first projector I've run into where that piece was broken either. So go ahead and remove the lid that is holding the bulb covered. Next, you'll see a Phillips screw right here on the right. Let's go ahead and remove this screw right here. And what you'll want to do is kind of keep these screws together as we go through. Keep them grouped together. Looks like that one's going to stay with the bulb. No, maybe not. There it is. Helps if your screwdriver has a little bit of magnetism to it as well. And then there's this little lift right here. Do be careful. I've allowed this one to cool and it's still kind of hot. So pull this little thing up here. And there we go. Here is your super hot projector bulb. And go ahead and set that to the side. Next, we'll remove the case screws. There's 1 on top and 5 on the bottom. So I'll start with this one right here inside the well where the projector bulb is. And there's that one. And now let's flip the unit over and get the ones off the bottom. There's 1. Here's 2. It's very handy if your screwdriver has some magnetism to it, so that way you can just reach in, pull these screws out. I mean, obviously the other thing you can do is just turn the projector over like on a carpeted floor and let all the screws fall out. And there they are. Now let's flip the unit back over and we'll pull the lid off. All right, it may take a little practice, but you'll get the hang of it. You're gonna just kind of pull this part up here and just keep pulling up on it from the edges. You're not gonna break anything. Oh, I might here in this case. Yeah, looks like the side is trying to come up with it. That's all right, we'll let it come off with it. There we go. And there is that broken screw thingy there on the side. Like I said, hopefully we can glue that back on. And then just set this stuff aside. There's that screw again. And our next step is to grab the nut driver, because we're going to remove all these little fasteners on the back of the unit. On the back of the unit, you're going to see 2 Phillips screws, as well as a bunch of these little fasteners here that are on each of the VGA inputs or outputs, and of course over here on the serial input output as well. So let's go ahead and take the Phillips screws out first. There's one of them. There's 2. And then we've got the nut driver here. Such a reward here at the end. Once it's all done, everyone will be proud of you for going through this pain in the neck. Now yours is probably not going to have a gender changer on it, or an extender. In my case, it's just an extender. So I got to take that off and then take the thing off underneath it. And screws are going to be falling out all over the place. It's always a good time. And I got this screwdriver cheap at a electronics store, and it is a piece of junk. All right, all these. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this cover. So set your screws aside. Again, kind of keep them in groups where they came from. All right, and this part just kind of pulls off and out. And there we go. We have now exposed more of the innards of this device. Our next step is to remove the screws that hold this metal bracket or metal bezel into place. Now I hate to state the obvious, but don't do this while the unit is still plugged in, okay? All right, we set it, that's off to the side now. All right, so screws, there's one here, there's one underneath this bundle of wires, here, 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 and here, okay? So let's begin with the little bundle of wires. There's a little clip here holding the little bundle in. Just kind of separate that out. One of these is for your color wheel. Do be cautious with this ribbon one here, this ribbon cable. Should be able to turn it sideways and kind of get it through the middle of those 2 clasps there. It's almost like a couple of little fingers like this, holding those wires in. So you see how I did that? Just kind of rotate the ribbon and pull it through. All right, and then underneath is where that screw's at. Let's go ahead and take that out. Now, the nice thing is I'm not going to show you in this video how to put it all back together. So all you have to do is watch this video in reverse, and then you'll be able to see how the unit gets put back together. But for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to show you how to put it all back together. All right, pull these out. Now, once we get these screws out of here, there's a bunch of little cables going all the way around. So grab this from the front here, pull it past all the VGA and RCA plugs, lift it past that, and then it's just kind of gripped onto the edge here. Just pull up on it so it unhinges. Oh, we lost a screw. We didn't lose one, we forgot one. You knew I'd do that, didn't you? You were watching, you're like, oh, he didn't get that screw. Okay, now I got it. All right, so this comes off. Set that aside. And again, with all these little plugs here, we're going to just disconnect them all. So I don't like to use pliers. I've seen other people use pliers. I prefer not to, because pliers have a tendency to pull a little bit and maybe even pull some of these wires out of socket, out of place. I'd rather not do that. So just kind of wiggle them back and forth until they disconnect. You might even be able to get in there with a flathead screwdriver and pry it out, but most of the time these things are sturdy enough they'll hold up with just a little tug. And the other thing is the length is just perfect for them to stay in their spots, so when you put this back on, you'll be able to do so. All right. So there is a plug here that connects to where the chip is, the DLP chip, and then there's also a connector to the board right here that supplies power, I suppose, to the board, because underneath here is the power supply. So what you're going to do is just kind of get underneath it and pull it up so it disconnects from, this is the harder one of the two, is getting this disconnected here. So pull that off. See, there's that connector there that connects to that. And then this little guy here, you're going to have to be very careful when you put this back on that it plugs back in to this little socket right there. And set that circuit board aside. Now the next thing we do is get rid of this bracket. It gets deeper. We just keep going deeper. All right, there's a ground screw right here. This screw is a different size than all the other ones that you have. So go ahead and put that one aside. It's also a little bit different color. So there's a screw down here. Let's go ahead and take that one out. I'm reaching around the tripod here so you don't have to look at my arm. And then there's one down in here. Let's pull that one out. I believe there's one more, if I'm not mistaken. Again, here's where that magnetism comes into real handiness. No, folks, this is not scripted. I am making up the dialogue as I go. Yep, there's a third one down here. Thank you, magnetism, for pulling that out. I believe that's it for this little bracket here. So then go ahead and lift the bracket out. Again, be mindful of your cables and connectors and little finger thingies holding onto the wires. Pull that out, set it aside. Now here's an option for you. If you get in here and everything's dirty, nasty, disgusting, by all means, get a vacuum cleaner out with a tiny hose at the end and get in here and suck all of this stuff out of here. You can see it here, dust bunnies. Go ahead and get those out of there. But again, do not use canned air, because what canned air does is it blows the stuff back into the machine and could in fact get more contaminants inside of the optics. All right. The part we're going to be cleaning is this unit right here, this assembly. So we're going to go ahead and take the screws out of that assembly and take this off, and we will be ready to clean. Back to our Phillips screwdriver. I believe on most DLP machines, DLP TVs, I call them machines just because there's mechanics in here. You got a color wheel that spins around. I believe most people call this the light engine, this part right here. I could be wrong. Might be called the flux capacitor, depending on which circle of friends you're with at that time. All right, again, 3 screws that are almost identical. Actually, you've got a little one there in that mix too, so keep that one. And that little one is actually what attaches the color wheel to this assembly right here. I think there's one more. Yep, there is one more. So there are 4 screws holding this assembly on. And again, the little machine screw is going to be your color wheel assembly. There we go. And then this part should just lift out of there. And ooh, look how gross it is. It is like so disgusting. Just so gross, man. Filthy. Ugh. Alright, so now we are going to remove the DLP chip and heatsink from the back of this assembly here. There are 4 screws that are holding it on. You can see those there. They're spring loaded, so once you reach the end of them, do be cautious that they don't spring off and fall onto the floor and be lost forever. I do not want to cause you any additional pain and suffering in this process. There's actually a chip in here, much like a CPU on a computer, with this heatsink. Apparently DLP chips use a lot of, or generate a lot of heat, and use 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. So one of the videos I watched in preparation for this indicated that you might want to get some more of this silver stuff, this heatsink compound there. I haven't used it in the last one that I cleaned, but I'll leave that up to you, to your discretion, if you want to do that. Just be cautious not to wipe off what is already on here, okay? So this is our magic DLP chip. This is the little device that creates the image for you. So we're going to clean that. Do set that aside. Be very careful with it. Don't scratch it. And then we're going to remove this lens here as well. And let's go ahead and pull out the color wheel while we're at it, since I already took the screw off. Actually, I can't take the color wheel off first. Okay, so let's do this. There's a screw here. Sorry, I was covering the camera there. There's a screw there. If you turn the zoom, you can get to the next screw, which is here. Then the last screw is on the front, right here. So if you turn the lens so it's on the upward position, like that, and then pull up on this part right here, you should be able to get to that screw without having to take this thing all apart. Kind of getting at it from the side here. All right, and then take that off. And there we go. Set that aside. Now you can take your color wheel off. Okay, if you've never seen a color wheel, there it is. It's very colorful and very wheelie. That's why they call it a color wheel. That is actually where your colors are generated from while you're watching a film. So you might want to dust this off as well. So the next part is to get your dust-free cloth, your little optical cleaning cloth, and maybe go over this part here. Again, be careful not to touch the glass part of the color wheel, but just use your little cleaning cloth to clean it. And look for any places that you may have touched it. Try to get the fingerprints off. Looks like I did accidentally touch it a couple of times as I was getting that out of there. All right, so there we are. She's nice and pretty. And then what we're going to do is clean these mirrors on the inside of this thing. So yes, there are a couple of mirrors in there. I don't know if you can see those, but there are mirrors inside. So let's go ahead and let's see what's the best way to get in there. Probably if we remove this little cover here, there's a little lens here, a little optical lens there, and now you can kind of see those mirrors in there a little bit better from this angle. So don't stick your finger in there without the cloth around it, but once you do have the cloth around your finger, put it in there and then just kind of wipe around. Just saw something fall out of there from the other side. A little piece of dust. And then try to get your cleaning cloth up in between these two items here. Here, let me point to them with a screwdriver. Try to clean in between here and here, right in there. So just kind of fold your cleaning cloth sideways. Shove it up in there. Okay. Or if you have a Q-tip, you might use that, but I think Q-tips are a little bit linty, at least have a tendency to be linty, so do be careful with that. All right. So that's the extent of our cleaning. Go ahead and put this little dog back on there. Take your DLP chip, wipe the top of that, and place it back on there. It does matter which way this is oriented, so you can see the connector is on the same plane as the heatsink here on the top. Okay, there is no heatsink on the bottom, or at least one that looks like it. So put it on there like that. And then this little cushion thingy also goes on the top side. This goes down into there, into that square there. It does not sit in there, it just kind of glides over it. And then go ahead and put your screws back in. Guess I have to kind of hold on to it here. It's going to fall over on me. I will show you how to reassemble this part, because I'm already showing it to you, right? And you do screw these screws down until they stop. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, just firm, but not like crazy tight. All right, turn it back over. See, there's some little gunks here that fell out of there. Not sure what that is. Looks like lime or something. All right, and then go ahead and insert your color wheel back into its spot here. We'll go ahead and put the screw back on it too. Holding it from the back side, insert it into here. And then we're going to need that little tiny machine screw that we had that was part of our screws. Let's go ahead and put that back in. Okay. That'll be one less screw we'll have to put in when we put this assembly back in there. Okay, now let's go ahead and put our front lens back on. Go ahead and, before you do that, wipe the end of it down here with your cloth. that back in there. Spin this little doodad around here. Go ahead and put the screws back in. One more here. And again, not real super tight on those because you don't want to break the plastic. And again, let's rotate our lens up, lift this part up, get in there, tighten that screw down. Oh, and mine decided to stick to the screwdriver again. And if we flip it sideways there, it gets in there the way it's supposed to, and then start screwing it, rotating it. That gets it into where it needs to be. Okay, there we go, and our assembly is back together. Okay, looks good. I love that little color wheel. That's just such a cool thing. Everything in life should have a color wheel on it. It would make our lives so much more fun. All right, so now we are going to assemble the rest of the machine back together. You should have your little groups of screws, as I indicated before. These are for this guy right here. These are for the metal housing. These are for the attachments and the VGA connectors. And so let's go ahead and start the reassembly.